G'day everybody, this is part 2 of the Christmas gifts that I built, so all the mini builds that I've put together is just one thing. First one is the Sword of Omens, which is a Thundercat's sword, and I found this sword on Thingiverse and decided to make it for my son for just one of the props to hang in his D&D room. So I printed the hilt and the medallions that go inside the hilt, and the file is for, you can print the entire blade as well, but I didn't want to do the blade because I was a bit worried that given where it's going to be and that people might handle it or not necessarily have a fight with it, but they might swing it around a bit. I wanted it to be a little bit more robust, so I decided to build the blade itself out of timber, and I bought a length of timber, and then between the pictures from the cartoon and the hilt itself, I determined, just eyeballed, what should be a reasonable length for the sword so that it looked like the extended Sword of Omens. And so I marked it out and then cut it out basically, but the hilt has a recess, a check in it for the blade to go in, and so I wanted to make this blade and then put how I have to chop away the little section that goes into the checkout on the hilt. Watching the video, I realised that it looks like I am quite careless with the blade, but I'm not on that bandsaw. I make sure I turn it off before I put my hands near it, and while I'm cutting I don't cut near it, don't have my fingers near it at all. The process of getting the bit that goes into the hilt down to size was just basically removing bits and pieces of the timber a little bit at a time. So bandsaw to start with, then a Stanley knife to trim it up, a little bit of sanding because it has sort of curves to it, and then finally a little bit of chisel work because the hilt also has, apart from the curvy nature of the hole that it goes into, it also has a point that leads into the little chevrons, and so I had to chisel out the little V out of that to make it slot in well. I wanted it to fit snugly, but definitely not loose, but I didn't want it to split the plastic or anything like that. I just wanted it to be in there. I also gave it a thickness down at my father's shed. We put it through the thicknesser because I didn't feel like planing that much of the timber away, and then gave it a light sand, and then this is making the little chevrons that come from the hilt of the sword onto the sword itself. You can print them in 3D, but because I didn't print the blade, I just decided to make them using a little bit of medium density fiberboard, MDF. So I shaped them up and then glued them on. After that, it's the painting of all of the pieces, so painting the red bits on both the eye side of the sword and the Thundercat symbol side of the sword, and the red was a couple of coats to get it in there, and then I progressively did darker reds as I got around to the outside edges to try and give some volume and make it look a little bit more 3D a little bit more rounded in the shape just through paint. This was done while doing lots of other Christmassy things, so every time I had red out, everything red got painted, whether it's the Eye of Thundera or the cherries on the Christmas pudding, or you'll see a bit later, comedian. So it was really back and forth. There's a whole lot of projects, which is why you've got them in project order as opposed to filming order in the background sometimes. Then doing the black on the Thundercat symbol, it was all pretty straightforward. There's still a little bit of fiddly brushwork trying to go down the edges without getting it places, and I do have to touch up. That happens pretty regularly. Still shot, so I've got the eye thing looking like an eye, and I've got the Thundercat-y thing looking like a Thundercat symbol. I taped up the sword, the hilt, and sprayed the blade, looking for the word, it wasn't coming, and then I taped up the blade and sprayed a lighter colour over the top of it, and I was aiming for the kind of reflections that are in the Thundercat's show. So there you go. It was okay. I'm happy enough with the result of that one. I think, given the time frame and everything, maybe I could have airbrushed it, but it didn't happen. So it's all still just painting. I did the white, and then I did some darker white in it also to try and give it volume. And I had a disaster where I think it was a bit of blue tack or something. I've forgotten what I actually did, but it peeled a whole lot. It grabbed the paint and pulled it off on me. So then I had to redo it all, or redo bits of it and match in the colour and do that. But ultimately I ended up with something that looks very similar to the way that the television portrays it. It's very rarely still in the Thundercats show. Then I got the hilt and painted in the green bits that are in the decoration. Again, this is pretty straightforward. It's just basic painting. There wasn't a lot of tricky painting to this. I wasn't going to try and go for photorealism. I was going for the cartoon style, hence the colours on the blade and the way that I did that. And when it was finished, the outcome was good. It looks just like I wanted it to be. And I don't think I've ended up with a video of it finished. I think you've just got stills of the way that it turned out, and it was a fun gift on Christmas Day. So there you go, sort of Omens. Next up, for the same person, is Winfiend Fury. So this is a model that's done by Wizards of the Coast, and it's no longer made, and anywhere that I looked for it, it was really expensive. I found it on eBay, so I thought I can't afford to do that, but I decided it's a thing that I think that I'm capable of building in Blender, so I did. So I went into Blender and made a base, did the same words that are on the base of the Wizards one, except that I made it say Dad is a Wizard, and it's a set of toruses. I just stacked the toruses and shrunk them and squashed them and did them until it made the basic shape of the cyclone, and then I added dots and balls sticking out of it to make it look more cloudy, and then at the top I put in some little lines that will later represent the lightning, give me somewhere to follow along to do the lightning. So I printed the whole thing in clear, and then I painted the base black, and took a couple of coats to get the base to be non-see-through because of the clear. Then I did a wash on the whole of the model with a black wash, but I put it on, dabbed it off, and put it on and dabbed it off, and it just ended up being grey, so it was more cloudy, and because of the see-through clear nature of the resin that I used, it looks the part that the original that I'd photographed was. I made mine a little bit more furious and gave it more arms than's on the Wizards of the Coast one, just because I was doing it and I thought that it would be a more stormier storm than that Wizard one. Again, it's a pretty simple, straightforward paint job. The painting in all of the little lightning flashes was challenging on the small thing, but it's not rocket science. It's just sticking with it till I got all of the little lines painted. Trying to find some of the lines was a bit tricky at times, but it came out quite well and he really liked it. So there's the photographs that show you the Wizards one and then how it turned out, and the STL file was, it printed great and I'm pretty chuffed with it. Comedian, I did this for one of the people that I work for, and just as a gift for him, and I found it on Thangs. It's by Frontis Mints, and I was trying to figure out whether I was doing Joker or Comedian, and the Comedian, I asked him one day, just Joker or Comedian, he said Comedian, so then I went and did it. I did spray all of the skin tones with an airbrush, but when I was looking at the video footage, it was mostly like what's happening now, and because I video myself and don't have someone moving the camera, I regularly get out of screen. So there's quite a bit of time that you won't see, even for this model, where it didn't, it was nowhere you could see it anyway, and you just see my elbow. So that's not helpful. I apologise for anybody that goes, I wanted to see more The painting on this one again was pretty straightforward. I did all of the black parts, then I did the blue shoulder pad and the red shoulder pad, and I painted grey on all of the metallic bits, and then I went back over them with a brighter silver to shine up all the studs on his uniform and the buckles and the section across his belt. But the belt has, in the picture there, it has a lot of reflection, so I decided to paint the reflection in rather than trying to just rely on the metallic-y silver. When I'd done all of that, I got a piece of sponge, and that's what you can see now, and got some silver paint with sponge on tweezers and just mottled up all of his armour. That required some touching up of both the black and later the skin tones, because there was a little bit of spill, and also when I was painting his dog tags with the silver, a little bit got onto his flesh. So I went and got the original colour that I kept from when I was airbrushing the skin tone, and came back in later and touched it up. So yeah, this is the fleshy touch-ups, just to make sure that the dog tags and things stayed dog taggy, but that it wasn't a blob on the skin tones. I enjoyed doing this model. It was tricky a little bit because of the flesh in places and all of his equipment in places. I also didn't have any pictures of what the back looks like, so I had no idea what his gun's supposed to be, and I hope I've done that correctly. So this is just a work in progress shot, and you've got the base hasn't been done yet, and I then had to I painted the base grey and put the drop of blood on his smiley face. So again, straightforward sort of painting. You just take your time and get it all done, and eventually it comes together. And I was pretty excited about it. I gave it a spray of matte varnish over the top when I was finished, but it was a bit of a rainy day, so unfortunately I think the varnish got a little bit of a cloud part to it, and he looks like he's got a little bit of a whitey sort of a film on there, but there was nothing I could do about that at the time. This was about a day and a half before I had to give it as a gift for the last day before Christmas, and so this is how he is. It turned out good, apart from the clear sheen that I thought, but you may not think there's a problem there. The second last thing is a Sisyphus model, but I did a D&D one. This model is available both on My Mini Factory and no, it must be just My Mini Factory. Yeah, from Props and Beyond. So it comes as one Sisyphus that you can make with a stone, if you know the story of Sisyphus, or instead of the stone you can have a D&D D20 dice. So this was for my daughter, who requested Greek statues for Christmas, and she's a D&D player, so I thought that would be fun. It took a considerable amount of time to build, and it was quite fun to see his legs coming up and then shoulders and things, and I got a kick out of going back every 20 hours or so and having a look at the way that he printed, and the result was great. I was quite surprised at how it turned out, being an FDM printer. I painted it brown and decided to try a method that I saw on the internet to marble it, where you push the towel on and do that. So I spread all the towel, made it webby, and I used some spray adhesive and stuck it down to the face of the model, and went outside with the spray can and sprayed it in a light grey cream, and it was absolutely useless. Didn't work for me. On the flat surfaces it was good, but because he's got so many angles, no. So I resprayed it white, and then I went with a bunch of greys, and now I did the greys and the light greys and the dark greys and the light greys and the dark greys and the regular greys and the medium greys and all of those wet on wet. I just kept dabbing it on to get that spongy, motley effect that's in the back of marble, and just went round and round and round and round and kept going until there. When I thought something was too dark, I put some light back over it. When I thought it was too light, I put some dark back around it, and just I in the end ended up with a motley base for a marble sort of a statuey look. And then I had to just go in and do all the veining. So there's a still of just the motley looking bit to it, which looks stony, but I wanted the marbly finish because the pictures were excellent. I'm wondering whether the pictures were renders or whether they were actual models that had been printed. But anyway, I went through and did vein at a time. I had a little bit of look at the reference, and then I also just had some pictures of marbles and made sure that the veins all sort of worked. I wanted there to be some really obvious ones across the front of the statue, and I wasn't particularly worried about whether it could have happened in real life or not. I just put them in there so that there was enough of them. It's always a thing with veining and doing a marbly finish where you can have too many veins, and also if they cross, if they go in different directions, sometimes it doesn't look natural. But on the statue it ended up pretty good, and my daughter was quite, I think she liked it. She's got it standing up in her on her display shelf, and because it's solid FDM, you can drop it. It bounces. It's pretty good that way. So there's the finished shots. He also got a coat of gloss, so he ended up being a glossier looking marbly finish and not so matte. The last thing is just the Everlasting Gobstopper from Willy Wonka, and you've got 3 seconds of me painting it and then some stills. It was an afterthought for the father of the guy that got the comedian, and so it was just really quick, and it's basic paint job. So there it is, not enough to be a a video for itself, but it still turned out really good, and it was a fun build to do. So thank you very much. Here he is, lots of colours. And I thank you for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed the bits and pieces. You can go back and watch it again if you want to see things now that I've talked my way through it, and I'll see you on the next build video. Have a really, 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 really great day.